welcome to this Quizzy Monday. And so we've had quite the Monday. Not only have we had Only Connect and Mastermind and University Challenge, there's been a new quiz series start on BBC called Lightning. So it'd be interesting to know what people think of that. If you've not joined our Quizzy Monday stream before, as it says at the bottom, you can post a comment or question in the chat. So feel free to write something and we'll see any comments that come through. And if it's a good question or a good comment, we'll bring it on screen and we'll use it to inform our chat and perhaps steer us in some unusual directions or unexpected directions. Joining me tonight will be Jamie from the Barons on Only Connect, who is captain of the winning team. So looking forward to having Jamie here. We've not spoken to him before, so it'll be interesting to find out his experience from Only Connect this evening. They ran out winners against the colleagues. So he should be in good form and quite chipper after that. So we look forward to seeing him there. And of course, we had earlier Mastermind, and we just finished off with University Challenge, which ended up being a lot closer than it looked at one point. So I can see Jamie is just joining us now. So once again, if you have a comment or if you just want to say hi or you've got a question, then put it in the chat. But I will now welcome Jamie to the stream.
Hello.
Hiya, Jamie. Welcome. And congratulations are in order. So I've lost track of where the competition is. What stage are we at now in the competition?
Well, I think pretty much everybody involved in the competition has lost track of where they are. It's the biggest maze going. The wall that they've got that shows all the different variations is just spectacular. But so that was the second round repechage. So basically, we won our first game, lost our second. The colleagues lost their first game, won their second. And so we've just won that one. So we're now through to the quarterfinals.
Okay, so quarterfinals. So if you lose the quarterfinals, are you out, or are you still in? Do you get like a second, third, fourth attempt, or is that it? Are we now in sudden death territory?
We are very much now in end game territory. Yeah, it's Once you lose the quarterfinal, that's you gone. I think everybody basically gets one chance to lose up until the quarters, and then so now it's just a normal straight knockout competition now.
Fantastic. So got a comment here. Big Screen Quiz says, I really enjoyed Jamie's long pauses before answering and biding his time. I mean, you didn't wait as long as your opposition in one instance who ran out of time on their questions. So there was that, I suppose. But did you have any particular tactics about, when you would go in? Would you jump in early, or would you wait your time before getting an answer right?
I think tactics is a bit strong a word. Basically, whenever I waited a long time, it's because I had absolutely no idea what the answer was, and so I was desperately trying to come up with a word that is potentially correct and also won't be really stupid to be said on TV. Because a previous quiz appearance of mine, I gave an incorrect answer that my colleagues found absolutely hilarious, and then became a less than enjoyed nickname. So I've got to weigh up that now, where I don't want to say pass because I detest it when people say pass, because just give yourself a go. Unless, of course, the question is, what is the gap between two mountains called? So, so I like to say something, but now I've got to make sure it's not really stupid.
But you have to try and come out with something, don't you, that sounds vaguely intelligent, that you've got some thinking behind it, knowing that actually 99 times out of 100 you're going to be so far off the mark. But you still want to come across as clever, don't you?
Yeah, because you've got to try and put the fear into your opposition and make them think, they probably know something. They didn't get it right on this occasion, but I'm sure they know something. So, a little bit of tactics there where you try and at least appear clever, intelligent. But I'm afraid the majority of our points throughout this entire run, on the whole, have been just about educated guesses, where we've got an idea of the sphere that we're in, But yeah, very rarely have I pressed that button knowing for 100% this is the correct answer.
Yeah, we've got one of our regular commentators, Grace, has said in the connection with Bloody Mary, I thought you said her name 3 times, not 1. Where I am, because she's in America, it's 3 times in a bathroom mirror with the lights off and a lit candle. It could be different in the UK. And T, who was on Mastermind earlier, says Bloody Mary is 3 times in the UK as well. Thanks for joining us, T. I hope you've had a Bloody Mary or 3 in the intervening hour since your show was on. Yeah, so I can't let it pass. You said earlier you gave an answer which was really embarrassing and led to a nickname. Can't let that pass. Go on, what was it?
I've kind of been hoisted by my own petard here. So it was on 15-1, and the question came in from Sandy, and it was, what is the name for the fold of skin under a turkey's neck? And it was a 2-part question, and I stopped listening at that point because I was thinking, I know this. I think I know this. I've got to think of that. So I didn't really listen to the second half of the question, and so I was just thinking, what's the synonym for fold? That's all I could think of, and so I said flap. And then, in the edge of consciousness, I then played back the rest of the question where she said, and is also a building material used with daub. And if all she said was, what is the name of a building material used with daub, I'd have said wattle, which was the correct answer. But because she'd said fold skin under a turkey's neck, I was thinking about that. I just guessed flap. And my colleagues found it absolutely hilarious. And now my nickname at work is Flaps, unfortunately, which is the cause for quite a few odd looks for people who hear it for the first time. But it's a perfectly innocent, if slightly daft reason. But
is that why you put Jamie Baron Frier in your thing here, so that hopefully people start knowing you as Baron rather than Flaps? You can but hope.
Yeah. Every now and again, I think during this run, I thought if I don't know the answer, maybe I should just give an answer that says like Adonis or something like that. But I didn't. I think it's unlikely to work.
Yeah. We've got Big Screen Quiz has just said a comment to T. Well done, T. Would echo that. I think anybody who puts them up for scrutiny on TV, in a TV quiz, no matter what, let alone Mastermind or Only Connect or University Challenge, that takes some guts, and I applaud that. I applaud that much better more than the keyboard warriors at home who never put themselves up for public scrutiny. So well done, T. I'm sure you will be back. T says, actually, coming into a dialogue, the best technique is take your time and decide on the best answer before you speak. I certainly found that on Mastermind. Anything where you've got time pressure, really, really important to listen to the question and not be thinking about anything else. It's really important. So Miles has chipped in. Quite a few comments coming through, which is great. Miles, you were saved by your teammate on that T.S. Eliot question in the last round. I noticed that. Were you going to come in with something different there at that point?
Yes, and I've been trying to remember what on earth was going through my brain at the time. But I have to admit, I've got no idea. But I definitely looked at the answers, saw T, blank T, and I'm trying to wrap my brain to think what it was, but I can't remember. But I definitely saw something, buzzed, thought that's not the right answer. Gareth came steaming in with T.S. Eliot, and I'm not very good at hiding my emotions. And so if I get an answer, if I've not got it right, everybody knows I don't know the answer. Like when I do a blind guess and it pays off, I'm not very good at sitting back and going, yeah, I knew that. Well done, me. It's always so yeah. No, he definitely saved me.
And it was that match was nip and tuck all the way. I mean, there was barely a point. Well, there was only a point in it after each of the first 2 rounds, and then you got a little breathing space after the wall. But during the missing vows, did you get a sense of how the game was going?
Yes, I felt that we were doing well and we were maintaining our lead. My plan was to try and counter with my fingers just going kind of 1, 1, 1, 1 here and there. But after about 2 or 3 questions, that just goes completely out the window. Kieran is very good at counting points. And so in every one of our games, he knew to within like 1 or 2 points what the score was. And so did we need to do a kind of a pressure buzz to make sure we get something, or are we safe and don't want to risk the point? So he was good at keeping tally. But no, I was just so kind of zoned in the moment going, I've got to get the next one right. I had no idea. I felt we were ahead. But what was interesting was in the like the practice rounds before we actually get started, the other team were rapid, especially Andrew. One of the Andrews was really like frighteningly quick on the buzzer. And so when it was close-ish going into the final round, I thought, even though we've done well on the buzzer in the past, I thought he's very, very good. So I was quite nervous going into that because, yeah, he was a strong buzzerer.
Yeah, we had a comment. We get a good few purists on these things. James is saying, I'd agree, but if you buzz in, once you buzz in, you should speak immediately. I think in something like Missing Vowels, when I was on Only Connect, we had the kind of tactic, as it were, that if we were winning, we would be quite deliberate about how we gave the answers. So it'd be T.S. Eliot, and we'd take as long as we could within plausible reason to give the answers, partly because you don't want to trip over a consonant and give the point away to the opposition. But equally, if it meant there was one less missing vowel available to the opposition as a result of it, then that would be a good result for us. So your delay, if there was much of a delay, was that there wasn't anything really conscious in it? It was just kind of a natural thing, was it?
Yeah. So gamesmanship again. I didn't quite get grips with that, even though I'm incredibly competitive, hate losing, really try hard and everything. So it's the kind of thing I should have thought about, because I made an error when I went on Countdown a couple of years ago. I was leading going into the final numbers round, and it was my choice, and I should have gone for all 6 just to try and stymie the whole thing. But I was so keen to ask for an inverted T and just tick that one off the bucket list. I went for that. He got closer than I did, and then he got me on the missing vowels rounds, missing vowels, on the conundrum. So yeah, gamesmanship I'm not great at, but yeah, the only times I paused was consciously paused was when I was in the main game and thinking I need to come up with something here without saying pass or flap. So but yeah, so if I paused in the missing vowels rounds, it probably would have been, I need to say this very carefully. And yeah, because I never buzzed when I was still working it out. I think there are some people who buzz and are working it out as they say it. But yeah, I try to avoid that because you don't want to lose points.
Yeah, Will G, I flashed it up earlier, says best quizzers seem to have an annoying habit of knowing exactly how much of a pause they can give before answering. I guess so. But equally, sometimes what you see on TV doesn't quite reflect actually what it was like in the studio, and pauses get added in as well by editors. James, coming back on his comment, it's more the opening rounds where the pause annoy me, buzzing with 2 seconds left and then taking 10 seconds to answer. I think that's because when you buzz to avoid being timed out, but you still don't have an answer, and you hope that between the 3 of you, you can just get a flash of inspiration and put it all together. And everybody does it. I don't think any team doesn't fall foul of that. So I think that's just kind of a natural thing for the game mechanics.
Yeah, that happened in our wall in our first episode, I think in our round 1, where we had got 3 of the connections and we just hadn't worked out what the 4th one is, but we came down to our last few seconds, so just hit it and solved the wall because we knew what the 3 were. As I was going down the list, I was racking my brains trying to think of what it was. And then just as we got to the last one, I think the answers were Jack, Matt, Rink, and something else. And all of a sudden I saw Jack and Rink and thought, is it bowls? And so I said, are these old terms? After a bit of a pause that probably would have annoyed James. And yes, it was, but only because that flash of inspiration came. So I did.
Yeah.
That was probably the closest I came to, I'm in trouble here. I'm going to just hang it out a bit. And there's the right answer.
Yeah. I think, taking as much time as you can within the rules of the game. And, they'll prompt you if they absolutely need something. I think that's just sensible play. We've got a comment from Dave Matthews, London-based quizzer. How did you do on the colleagues' wall? We saw that you guys solved your wall. The colleagues had, make sure I've got the right set here, Bangles. That wasn't yours, was it? The Bangles, indicated by an X, Rowan Atkinson, and French. How did you? Because that'll be the first time you saw it. You won't have seen it in studio. So how did you see? The one bit of the game that you get to play like every other viewer. How was it for you?
Well, I was watching it with my wife Sarah back here at home, and we got the Rowan Atkinson connection quite quickly because Zazu just went straight away. We knew that, big Disney fans here. And the French one, I think I made the first connection and then Zara kind of finished it off for me. And so we definitely got the last two groups. We got that quite quickly. I don't think I wouldn't have got the Bangles connection. I'd like to think I'd have got the X. So I think we probably would have solved it and got 7 points maybe. But yeah, I don't think we'd have got a clean sweep because Bangles went clean over my head. But that's not to say that Gareth and Kieran aren't huge Bangles fans and would have got that in the back of Flash.
Yeah, I mean, it is one where you just need that flash of inspiration of like Egyptian and flame or something like that. It just sparks you, doesn't it? There are different views coming through in the chat. Big screen quiz thinks it's part of the charm of the game, buzzing with 10 seconds left, 2 seconds left of taking. So there are different views on these things.
You can do it
I didn't mention. Indeed, T. I didn't mention earlier when I was saying because obviously she was on Mastermind tonight, but she was on the last series of Only Connect. So again, she knows what she's talking about when she's talking about Only Connect. And Victoria will push you. She comes across pretty friendly, but actually she does run the game. Once you're in studio, she keeps it motoring along. So yeah, she won't stand for too much shilly-shallying. I think that's fair.
I am Victoria.
Yeah. James, I'm just bringing these up now because there's a lot coming through. Answering British instead of French gave the Barons a huge cushion. I tweeted that as it was going. Could British be the most important word in that episode? Because saying British instead of French cost them 3 points. They lost by 4. Might have been a very different game if they'd have gone into missing vowels 1 point behind. Pressure on you, a little bit more hope for them, perhaps. Big, they didn't see it. They kind of saw it, but probably saw Bulldog, British Bulldog, and but it was tough. It was a big moment, I thought.
Yeah, it could well have properly swung it because there's a huge mental difference going into the final round having got the wall and having not, because it's just that confidence overspill of yes, we've done well here, we've succeeded. Now we've got a really good chance of going through. So yeah, I think they'd have been leading going into the final round, which would have, as you say, put the pressure right on us. I mean, again, I lose count of score with instant, so I think I'd have just answered what I could have done. But yeah, so yeah, that was pretty crucial, especially as we squeaked our wall by knowing all the connections, but not knowing all the valleys, all the cabbages, and just the process of elimination, thinking, well, Napa's the most obvious valley there, so surely that's the red herring. And so we got, sometimes it's a little bit of a matter of luck. We got lucky by guessing the right cabbage. They got unlucky by going British over French. But yeah, and also that when Gareth saved me with T.S. Eliot would have been Doctor Point. They quite likely would have got it. So that would have been so we ended up getting a point. So it would have been a 4-point swing. No, that would have been a 3-point swing. So even then, that would have been 1 point in it again. So yeah, close margins.
It's all fine margins. There's no easy games at this level. T has asked, are there any answers that you still kick yourself for getting wrong in the games that have been shown? Because we don't want spoilers. So in the games that have been shown so far, is there anything that is haunting you?
Yes. So I was annoyed today that I didn't get the football nicknames one for 5 points. Because I mean, football's my job. It's pretty much my life. And of course, I knew that Fulham play at Craven Cottage, but I was slightly stumped by the thought that they have moved ground. So I thought that was going to be the thing. And then it was, and then didn't get easier with, I think, Rotherham, Millmore. It didn't get any easier with Halifax's Shaman. And so I was thinking, I'm still in the dark here. And then when Owlerton came up for Sheffield Wednesday, that triggered the nickname, Fulham Cottagers, boom. So I really should have got that for 5 points, because Fulham Cottagers, I could easily have got it for 5 points. But it just didn't occur to me at the time, because I was thinking, my mind went down a completely different tangent. And then in the first episode, there was a sequence question which started out wind, then sax, then Han, and it was British royal families going backwards. The first kind of syllable, as it were. But obviously, wind and sax, you think musical instruments. And funnily enough, literally the day before, we've been wandering around Cardiff, and Gareth had mentioned a statue that he'd seen that was of a man whose surname was Sax, and he told a story about it. And so instantly we thought, oh, Sax, is it this person? Is it that? So royal families didn't occur to me in the slightest. And also because it was wind, 4 letters, it just didn't occur to us at all. But as a big old royalist and someone who'd actually practiced the royal family quiz before I'd been on there just to see, it was a bit irritating to have not got that one.
Just before we move on, because the next obvious question is, what's the answer you're most chuffed about getting? But we've got a comment here about I tripped on a wall by never having heard of Nappy Valley. Then today, there it is again. So this indicates, I'm trying to work out who G Mathematics is, because I know that name. That indicates there's a bit of a repeat come up, or at least a repeat of a clue. Did you watch any old episodes to prepare yourself for going on the show?
I didn't, because I assumed if it had been on the show, then it's not going to be on again. I always find that funny when people go back on a TV show, on a quiz show, and they're asked, so what have you been revising since you've been away? And they say the things that they got wrong last time. And I thought, well, it's obviously not going to come up now as it is on last time. So although that would be incredibly only connecty, by the way, to do exactly the same question, see if you've learned your lesson.
Yes, have a connection where all the answers are answers you failed to get last time around.
well, actually, that was around like a series or two ago, wasn't it? Where the sequence was the first 4 answers from this round.
Yes, that's right.
Which was glorious and incredible, and just so only connect meta. It was wonderful. So I love that answer. But and I've completely forgotten the question where we were going with
we were talking about the repeats and the old stuff.
Just what could it have been from like on websites you can do the wall.
Well,
so maybe user generated wall is a possibility, I hope.
So Grace our American friend said, I'm still upset about the original titles connection from the first heat, since she was reading To Kill a Mockingbird at the time and should have got Atticus. Still upset months later. That shows her priorities. Yeah, Grace, these things get you. Try giving a stupid answer on Mastermind in a Mastermind semi-final. These things haunt you forever and a day. But never mind. What was your best answer today? Because you indicated to me before we started the stream that there had been an answer you're particularly chuffed about getting.
Yes, so that would have been the one where you saw a picture of a stew and then a thorn and then Sayat and then what comes forth. And I was just really, really pleased I got the connection, because it's such an only connecty thing. And I love, more than anything, I just love the nature of the questions, because they can be so easy, but you're thinking at such a kind of master's level of question. Sometimes there'll be a GCSE one that comes up and your mind's not on that particular frequency. And so, I was thinking it was a hot pot. So I was thinking on the lines of British counties. And then I saw Thorn come up and I still wasn't entirely sure. And then Sayat came up. And then for some reason, I guess because I was on that show, my mind went to anagrams. And so I thought, Sayat, it's weird to come up with that. So I went there to East. And all of a sudden I thought, East is one of four things. And then I looked at Thorn. And again, I think it rings a faint bell from like an online user-generated wall that I'd done weeks, maybe months ago, that it was anagrams of cardinal compass directions. And so that kind of started off, and I thought, that's a stew. And so I thought, brilliant, I've got it. And now I've got to think of an anagram for south. And I think I got it with a fair bit of time to spare. But so for the last 15 seconds, I was desperately trying to think of an anagram for south, and I just couldn't come up with it at all. So eventually I thought, thous, it'll be accepted because it's correct, even if it's definitely not what they come up with. And then as soon as I gave the answer and saw Victoria's very confused face, I realised, shout, whoops. And so eventually saved it. But yeah, it's just one of those ones which is such a neat, nice, only connect question. And I'd missed a very only connect you one in the previous episodes, which was things hidden inside other words. It was just really pleasing to get one of those very special questions.
Wordplay types. Yeah. For you mentioned the website where you can do walls. For those who aren't aware of it, I think it's called Puzzgrid, P-U-Z-Z grid, or ZZ if you're American, Puzzgrid, and you can basically play hundreds of user-created walls, and you can create your own for others to play and rate. So if you love the wall, there's that. There's also on Facebook, there's an Only Connections question group where people write questions or put out clue one and people try and answer whatever. So there are plenty of opportunities out there for people who love Only Connect to get involved and play for free. There's also a new Connections Quiz League starting up, which is basically the Only Connect format. So look on quizcentral.net if you're interested in that. So a few little bits of pointers for people who enjoy Only Connect.
It's so useful for for practice as well as fun.
Interesting comment here. Again, I'm a cryptic crossword doer, and anagrams never crossed my mind there. Sometimes I think when you're in the mindset in the show, you're looking, okay, is it something that goes before, or is it something that goes after? Is it part of the word, that there's a connection, or is it an anagram or whatever? Sometimes you have to almost have that formulaic approach to work through the types of clue it might be, and then when it's just a simple general knowledge one, it's a different matter.
So we had that approach again because we'd practiced walls together on Puzzgrid. We kind of knew the kind of things you look for, as you say, like a word that goes ahead, the word that goes behind, anagrams, group of things. And so when we were doing it, if we weren't entirely sure of what we were going for, Gareth would look for words that go ahead of things. Kieran would look for anagrams, etc. So we'd split our searches into those kind of categories that we knew came up quite often, in order to try and maximize our chance of finding it. So yeah, the puzzle grids were just so beneficial in kind of learning the format. It's like cryptic crosswords, as was mentioned there. Just the fact that once you start to know what the kind of clues that are on their way, you can then begin to see things much more easily. Like when you see the words jumble in a crossword, you know it's going to be an anagram.
Yeah.
But until you learn that system, you won't know.
Got a comment again from G Mathematic. Lots for OC and House of Games fans online now, isn't it? And House of Games, if they could do an ordinary person version of that show, I think lots of us would be queuing up to get on that one. What a brilliant show that is. What else have you been on, Jamie? So we've got 15 to 1, we've got Countdown, we've got Only Connect. Have we seen you anywhere else?
Yes, I was on The Chase would have been about 7-8 years ago now.
Okay.
So I had Paul Sinner as my chaser. How was it? Yeah, so 7 years ago. So Cinnamon as my chaser. I did okay in my cash builder. Pretty much guessed. Went for the middle offer. Pretty much guessed every single answer on the way down. Like, again, educated guesses, or pretty much every answer on the way down. Got back. There were 3 of us in the final chase. One guy went for the big amount and got caught with, I think, 1 or 2 questions to go. And I think we got to about 18 or so, which I think was a little bit below par. And then he caught us with 30 seconds to go. And also, I've been on... the first thing I ever did was Tipping Point. But you wouldn't have seen me because... I'm sure I'm allowed to say this. I hope I'm not going to get in trouble. My episode was never broadcast. Because nothing I did, just to get out there early and just down. There was a question in one of the first couple of rounds which asked for the name of the South African sprinter who made history by being the first double amputee games. The episode was due to go out on, I think, February the 12th, 2012. February the 12th, 2013, of course. February the 16th. That's it, 2013. And so 2 days earlier, obviously Oscar Pistorius did what he did. I don't know what my legal position is here. And and so they said, right, we're not going to show this episode now. So they delayed it to the end of the series. And they said, we'll put it in the next series. And then because the case kept dragging on, they just said, look, we're just never going to broadcast it because it's a bit sensitive. So obviously devastating for Reba Steenkamp and her family. But so that was, it was a bit of a shame it never went out because I won the jackpot. I was, 23, 24 on my quiz show against two veterans, got through the final and got the jackpot counter out in 9 drops, which meant there was 1 short of the record. But yeah. But
you weren't worried about records when you're taking 10 grand home. So.
I don't know. I was a little bit annoyed, I have to admit. I was like, really, 1 short? But yeah, so it would have been nice for that to have aired, but it is what it is. They got to be careful about these things.
If only that question had fallen in 15 to 1, there'd have been no flaps. And for anybody who doesn't know what I'm referring to, watch the stream back, and you'll find out that particular story. So elsewhere on Quiz Tonight, I don't know, did you watch Mastermind and University Challenge? Did you catch up with any of those? Yes,
I did. Yeah. I absolutely blew out on University Challenge. That's definitely a step above my ability. The occasional thing falls my way, but that really is just about a level above me. But Mastermind was good. I'm a huge tennis fan, so the Rafael Nadal section wasn't too bad. I did okay on that one. But very impressive knowledge, and T, well done. That was incredibly impressive on is it Evil Dead?
Evil Dead.
I'm afraid I've never seen any of them, so flamed out on that one as well.
I thought it was quite interesting. The good spread of subjects: Tchaikovsky, Evil Dead, This Country, Rafael Nadal, and it was quite tight until we got to Alison, and she had a really blisteringly good specialist subject round. But what they all kind of struggled with in the general knowledge was that bit where you get one or two wrong, and then all of a sudden you get into a spiral of successive ones, or kicking yourself over the one that's just gone and then missing the start of the next one, whatever. And it's incredibly difficult to pull yourself out of that sort of spiral. And you can see people going through internal hell on that chair in the full glare of the TV cameras. But it happened to a number of them tonight, and it can happen to anybody when you're in that moment, and it can happen on any show. If you're dwelling on what's just gone before, not thinking about what's coming up, or you're kicking yourself, or I had one example, first question of a general knowledge, where I just didn't catch the first bit of it, and at the end, it was like something like made in a pudding with kidneys. And it was like I'd gone 3/4 of the question not understanding they were asking about steak. And it was at the very end I pieced that together. I thought, I'm going to get the really, really easy general knowledge question wrong here, and everybody's going to call me steak for the rest of my life.
If anyone listened to the whole question, flaps would never have happened. So that's a lesson to all budding quizzers. Listen to the entire question before you leap in with a stupid answer.
Indeed. And, it's good to have an equilibrium and a steadiness to approach it, and dispatch the ones forget the ones that you got wrong. But it's much easier said than done when you're actually in the moment, with the adrenaline running, with the lights on you. Those fine judgment calls and that calmness is really hard to get.
Did you see Lightning today, by the way?
I did, yeah. What did you think of Lightning?
I loved it. Little bit uncertain at first, because I was thinking, is this just 15-1 again? But then they add in all the different elements to it with the physical challenge and the thing. And then, so I described it as 15-1 on steroids, because it's kind of taken it to a different level and makes it much more interesting. So I really enjoyed it. I thought Zoe Lyons was a really good host. But that exact thing happened where, what was it? Was it Louise?
Yeah, I don't even know the person. She just, she
went on that run of 11 wrong answers, where you can tell she knew at least 4 or 5 of them, but heard start the question, panicked, paused, or thought, I don't know this, when she clearly did. So it's the kind of thing that can happen so easily. But I thought it was just such an interesting twist on the format. Like, it's a format we know: answer a question, pass it on. But then with the physical element, the getting 2 right in a section, and that final
spelling element.
How far do you reckon you can go? And you got no idea what the time is as well. It's so, I really enjoyed that format.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I think these one of these things where you see the first episode, some shows grow into themselves and they get much more comfortable, and the host gets more comfortable. And of course, contestants haven't had the luxury of seeing the show, so they don't really know what's coming up necessarily in the same way. But I think there are a number of shows that have gone before who have done a similar sort of format, the kind of pass the parcel thing, and if you're the last one at the end of the time, then hard luck. But I did, I started off thinking, oh god, is there going to be like 4 or 5 rounds of the same thing? And they did change it up, and it was quite interesting the way they tried to do it.
The spelling bit,
like you, sorry,
the spelling bit was clever. When you got to spell your answer as well, so not enough just to know it, so you got to spell it as well. Which I thought, oh yeah, that's a good thing that you don't see a lot of. It's kind of the amalgamation of your quiz shows. Yeah,
no, I thought that was a nice twist. I think I'd like Zoe Lyons to have been a quicker reader, because I think sometimes you're thinking this person's going to be knocked out. She's not going to get to the end of this question in time. The bit I really liked was that final round. I think that judgment of how much time has passed, how far have I got, how far can I get before I have to turn around and come back. I think that's the one element of that show that I thought, oh, that's new. And maybe somebody will tell me it's not new. But everything else kind of felt, that it works. The questions were good, standard, daytime quiz show fare with some nice twists. the physical game was like it's like kind of the cube light, yeah, it's just something, it added another dynamic, a little bit of jeopardy in there. I thought it's a good start for a show, and there haven't been that many new shows this year because of COVID and lockdown and developing them, and it's trickier when everybody's working remotely. I thought it was a good stab. Comment here about it. Maybe I'll get used to it, but it doesn't feel very cohesive to me. I guess that's because
all of the rounds have the same rough theme. It's do something, pass it over, do something, pass it over, do something, pass it over. But then they kind of add in an extra element of peril, like adding in the second question, adding in the physical element, adding in spelling, adding in how far do you reckon you can get, how far to think. So I see the point. A little bit kind of here and there, but I think on the whole, it flows through. Each one gets a little bit trickier each time.
Yeah, sounds very like the Exit list. I mean, there's a Facebook group called the Contestant Hub, which they're friends of this channel. And on the Contestant Hub, there's been some discussion tonight about, that bit is like this show, that bit's like that show. I think actually, if you look at a lot of quizzes, very few are genuinely, completely original. So I don't have a problem with borrowing elements and then putting your own twist on it. I think they've done a decent job. I was, a bit nerdy. I was looking at the credits and I was looking at the development producers and the question writers. This is a show with a good pedigree. Some quiz shows get thrown together by companies that somehow get a commission and don't really know what a quiz show's about. This one had good people behind it, and I think that's why it feels solid, with the potential to evolve into something with quite long-lasting legs, I think.
Yeah, there's I think there's definitely there's a couple of only connectors involved in it somewhere, which you can kind of tell with the smartness of it, because that's sort of like some shows you just think someone's just looked at a thing and gone, let's make a quiz show based around that. Yes. So even though I love like Catch Point, for example, it's brilliant, but it's kind of limited. Whereas this one, I think there's elements of it that make it like has that little spark of ingenuity in it. That it's based on a lot of different. It's an amalgam of lots of different shows, but I think it's put together in a nicely packaged way.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioning that one, it makes me think Tipping Point. Somebody was, we need a new show, and they're in the penny arcades in Blackpool, and all of a sudden it's like, those machines that go like that. And then somebody looks at Tipping Point and thinks, what other games are there like that? And then you've got the rolling the coin down the thing, which was, and you've got the wall with the ball, and all of a sudden people are repurposing these games, which is not necessarily a bad idea. If they're looking for something that randomizes the gameplay, so it's not just straight up questions, and it's quite a smart way of doing it. This was more straight up quiz with the one slightly random element of controlling how a ball goes through a hole. So, fair play to them. We'll see how it goes.
Definitely.
But, you touched on University Challenge. We can't not mention it. It was, at one point, it threatened to look a very one-sided contest. Strathclyde didn't really get going. Durham did. They buzzed in strongly. And the impressive thing for me with Durham was that their buzzes were coming throughout the team, and solidly. So you got players like Banbury, who was, I think he was their top scorer in terms of buzzes. They didn't necessarily capitalize on their bonus point attempts, but on buzzes they were getting in and they were dominating possession of the ball, as it were. So it was tactically very well played by them. Strathclyde came back. I
was about to make the same analogy. It's if you have the ball, they can't score. So just back up your tens and you're laughing.
Yeah, you get your tens, you get your 5 pointers, you get 1 or 2 5-pointers in your sets of 3. Whereas Strathclyde were better at converting more, but they had fewer opportunities to do so. So it was. I thought it was an entertaining match. I think
they came back strongly.
Yeah, they did towards the end, because it was 115, 155. So they did pull it back. I mean, it wasn't again, it wasn't one of the really high scoring matches. There was a comment last week on the discussion of, have we seen one of the great teams yet? Because we're not seeing the massive aggregate scores or the 200 pluses. We're getting a lot of scores like today's. Ultimately, winning is what counts. And if you've got the silverware at the end, does it really matter if people are going to talk about you as the greatest team of all time? But it is interesting because what it means is I don't know who's going to win. I have no idea who can win this series. Miles has chipped in. The questions are a lot harder in the quarterfinal. I don't know about that. I thought there was some fairly kind of, I wouldn't say standard, but Suzanne the card players, that classical music question where the answer is Beethoven. Samuel Beckett being the playing first class cricket. These are quite standard quiz fare. And then on the other side, there were some absolutely fantastic buzzes as well. So I think there was a mix.
Ones which you think, like, if I had 4 guesses, I'd get there. You know the ballpark that you're going to be in. So a lot of eminently gettable ones that I just didn't quite get. But
there was one that Wilkening buzzed in on, and I might even have written it down wrong. Temple Grandin, and I didn't know anything. I didn't when I heard the question, didn't know the answer. When I heard the answer, I'd never heard of the answer. Valerie next to me, she knew it, she got it, and it goes to show that you need a real kind of spread of knowledge here, and some stuff that I thought was eminently gettable and easy. They looked at stuff like Temple Grandin, and that was gettable for them. That was easy for them. So everybody has different knowledge bases. So fair play to them. There was one point where Michael points out here, bit of a blunder. This is where Parkinson, the captain of Durham, they were talking about an answer, and she said January, March, when the teammate had said Jarrow. And Paxo didn't allow it, nor did he prompt her for a correct pronunciation, or maybe he did prompt her and she repeated it and they just cut that out. We don't know. But that seemed a little bit mean in an era where they've got screens up, you've got your thing in your ear to try and hear what people are saying, which potentially changes the dynamic of how you interact as a team. Did you find, you've never done Only Connect without all of that stuff, but did you find that was problematic?
It wasn't awful. It felt, if anything, it was just slightly odd and a little bit of a distraction knowing it was there. Because I've got slightly weird shaped ears anyway. Like, earbuds never seem to fit in there, so I was slightly conscious of that the whole time. But in terms of the actual hearing each other, it was quite easy to, because they worked really well. And so obviously you're hearing the person on the side that the earpiece is in quite well. So so sometimes it could get a bit tricky because sometimes people talk quite quietly, not wanting the other team to hear, and it's kind of worse when you got an earpiece in and you think, well, they should be hearing me, and so you've got no idea how loudly you're coming across to them. So you could think that you're talking quite normally and saying, this is what I think the answer is, and the captain could not hear you in the slightest. A few times I had to say to my teammates, you need to speak up a bit because I'm not getting what you're saying. And so so sometimes you don't know if you're talking at the right volume, whereas without the screens, without the earpieces, you know how loudly to talk to each other. And like in this series of Only Connect, there's a couple of people who are really whispering, some people who are bellowing, some people are talking behind their hand. So so I think it has affected people in different ways. So Emily could be, they thought they said it clearly, but it didn't come through to the team captain clearly enough, and you heard something completely different. So I can completely see that.
I can really sympathise. Now Miles has had a bit of support. G Mathematics thinks, yes, Miles, I think you might be right. I tally up my score every week, and I'm getting fewer starters than I was at the start. So, Miles, you could be entirely right. I don't tally up my my starters. I'm too busy writing down what other people have got to be answering them. So, so no, it might be, and I suppose there's an argument that the further you get in a competition, the tougher it should be to sort the week from the chaff, to let questions run longer. Jim Atamax is also saying Temple Grandin's life was made into a famous film. Sorry.
I was about to say that the questions absolutely get harder in the show. There are eminently gettable ones in round one, and then by the quarterfinal, it just gets. Sometimes you're looking at it and going, "I've got no idea what's happening at the moment." So so definitely they ramp up the difficulty.
And I think obviously you want to test the teams, but equally you don't want to shut out the viewers by having stuff that is completely impenetrable. Talking about people who make these decisions, Jenny Heap has posted, Gareth, it's time for a beard trim. No, who is your producer? Now, hi, Jenny, over in Canada. For those who don't know Jenny, she is the producer of Only Connect. And we did a video interview with her on All Things Quiz. If you haven't seen it, it's a really good behind-the-scenes video about producing Only Connecting COVID. So check that out. But Jenny, beard trim, there's so few things to do in lockdown that you can't rush these things. You got to pick your days for your grooming escapades, because otherwise, what you do at other times. Now, I've got some support here. Michael says, "Harsh from Jenny, great beard." So I'm
with you, Michael.
Jenny says, "I'm cheap at the price." I think she's talking about her services as a producer. And now see how easily swayed she is. The beard is magnificent. So this live stream has taken an unexpected turn. But good.
It would be the internet if people weren't commenting on your appearance, though, would it?
Well, that's the thing. Generally, we don't abide people who make disparaging comments about appearances. We think that's not necessarily conducive to good TV experiences, particularly on things like Twitter. Things that aren't somebody's fault or anything they can control. It's just not fair to mention on this. This is kind of down to me. I think it's fair game. We've got a hello to Jenny here, and Miles says it creates an air of sagacity. And I think, Miles, you win the best word of the stream competition.
Can I suggest flap?
Oh, flaps by name, flaps by nature. This is. I tell you what. Sometimes you just have to embrace the notoriety. It's
Absolutely.
just, yeah. So I kind of lost my way there, really, thanks to Jenny and the beard convo. But Jenny, you are always welcome to come on stream as well if you want to discuss it. Maybe come on the night of the Only Connect final or something like that, Jenny. Here's my open invite, and how can you resist?
Maybe throw it back to her. Maybe ask her if she's still wearing high heels or she's been told she's not allowed to again.
Ooh, well, there you go, Heap. Are you still wearing high heels? I have to say, and you've done a lot of TV programs, and Jenny can close her ears because her head will get big. But the Only Connect contestant team, we say it every time we have people on from this show, they are fantastic, aren't they? They are a set apart.
Brilliant. I mean, obviously, there's so much of a so much difficulty doing it during COVID times when you can't get close to people, and hair and makeup have to have the mask on and be at a distance. Everything has got to be. You've all got to sit distantly in your exam hall tables, but everybody is just so singularly lovely and friendly and welcoming. Obviously, Jenny's great fun. Hugh was just great to chat because you've got these long waits in between takes, and just people are happy to ferry you back and forth. I think Gareth forgot to bring his glasses through or his earpiece or something, so he got taken back to the green room and back again. And everybody just does everything with a smile. And even though it's such long days, I think Gareth got a bit of extra leeway because his name's Gareth Jones, and so everyone was so excited that a Welsh named person, even though he lives in Surrey, was on the show. But yeah, everyone's just really, really friendly, and just everything just goes really smoothly because everyone's just so nice. And so I remember Countdown being a very good experience in terms of friendly people explaining the rules and everything, but Only Connect is absolutely a step above everything in terms of how great the people are to work with. But if anyone from any of the shows I've been on previously is watching this, you were great also. Please let me back on any other shows you're doing.
Shameless. Grace said, I turn away for a minute and the Only Connect producer is here. That sums up my life. Well, Grace meet Jenny, Jenny meet Grace. You're both on the same side of the pond. Now, Jenny has come back and says, not that we do like to comment on people's appearance, but did you know Jamie was frequently compared to Hugh Grant? Well,
gosh, I mean, I really don't know what people would say about that. I mean, blimey. Sorry. That happened on the Radio Times's preview. Said I looked unnervingly like Hugh Grant, which I didn't see. My wife Sarah didn't see. Nobody accepted it. And then every single episode we've been on, at least half a dozen people have said, "Is that Suggs on as the captain of the Barons?" So. And not a single person has acknowledged the Hughness, and everyone's just gone. And it's so strange. Every single time, it's different people. I do make the mistake of checking the Only Connect hashtag because I can't help it. But yeah, no one said Hugh Grant. No one said anything else other than Suggs so far.
You clearly have one of those faces. T has chipped in. Jenny, you don't want to see Jim's beard. That's the T's other half. Gareth, I appreciate your beard. I'm loving the fact I'm getting some appreciation for this. I mean, it's not the full lockdown monstrosity that I did have. David Bodicum, who right from the days was writing questions and really key in Only Connect success. So he's got fine judgment. 10 out of 10 impression and uncanny, says G Mathematics. Madness, says Dave. And Dave chips in, and you're losing control of this. So that's probably quite true.
Blame me in.
But that's what I like about these streams, because you never quite know where you're going to go, particularly when people are chipping in with the comments, with the right spirit and a sense of humor. And look, the fact that we've got Only Connect producer, past contestants, Mastermind contestants, people from behind the scenes, in front of the camera, as well as just fans, it is great. It's a really good way of mingling. So, what is next for you, Jamie? What is your next ambition TV-wise?
Well, we've got the quarterfinal coming up, but I'll keep about that.
Indeed. Because we don't want spoilers on you.
Yeah. Basically, anyone who'll have me. I'll apply for anything that's available on anywhere. You sound like a really desperate cry for help here. I just really enjoy being on quiz shows. They're so much fun. They're always varied. There's always something different, and there's a chance to win something. Zara has mentioned once or twice, why do you keep going on TV shows that you can't win money on? So my last
I used to get that a lot. Yeah,
because my last two were Countdown and Only Connect, and I mean, it's basically they are the part of the crown jewels of the quizzing world, I'd say, along with kind of Mastermind and University Challenge. So I just wanted to go on Countdown in order to take a sip of water after solving the numbers round and asking for an inverted T. That's all I wanted to do. And Only Connect is just my favorite, possibly my favorite show ever, just because it's just such a clever show. And So yeah, so the next thing I think I'll try and go on something that actually wins me money if I possibly can. There is a show, and I've forgotten the name of it now, but I think it's a new one that I'm looking to apply for, where you've got to work out from a list what.
Oh yes.
I forgot the name of it now, but
yeah, the contestant course just come out. Is it? No, well, there's several out at the moment. There's Unbeatable. And then there's this one up in they're filming up in Scotland where it's sorting things into different lists and stuff like that. So there are a few things out and about. Yeah.
So so I'm trying to bully Zara into going on with me, because she's very much not an avid quizzer. She loves watching Only Connect with me. I think it's the only thing she'll watch with me. She actually loves Missing Vowels round, and we're quite good at the wall because, like you say, we've got very different knowledge brackets. There'll be a time when we're trying to solve a wall, and then within seconds she'll say, well, they're all obviously Jennifer Lopez songs, and I'm not going to them. So it's good to have that kind of knowledge coverage. So yeah, I'm trying to convince her to go on the list show. So yeah, I think fingers crossed that comes off. But yeah, pretty much anything.
Okay, well, last call. If anybody has a question or a comment about my beard or anything, if they want Jamie to repeat his Hugh Grant impression, or maybe to do his Suggs impression. But there's a little bit of a delay, so we'll just have a pause whilst people decide if it's Akabilk. So yes, but if there aren't any more questions coming through or any more comments, and it could take a little bit of stalling just to see. Sorry?
Like a little bit of stalling, like me answering the questions.
Something come through in Spanish, and I don't speak Spanish, and I then put it up just in case he's rude. So Simone Moro, if that is genuine, I apologize. Thank you so much for coming on the stream tonight, Jamie. It's been brilliant. We've never met before. Jamie contacted me and said, "Hey, I've seen some of your streams. Be interested in coming on." We are always open to people coming on this stream, whether you've been on the show or not been on the show. If you've got interesting things to say or opinions, then contact us. allthingsquiz@gmail.com. Well, no, you've been great. I'm very entertaining. We love it when people have got a story to tell and something to raise a smile. So yeah, Flaps will stay with me for quite some time. But for now, we'll say thank you to everybody for watching. Thank you, Jamie, for coming on. Hopefully you'll come back. Maybe we'll see you another time. Maybe you could see if your teammates would be interested as well. It'd be good to get a few more bodies as well. But thank you, everybody. Thank you, Jamie. And we will see you hopefully next week. So bye for now.